were actually going to move to Goa. So Goa was the place we wanted to go because I have been to Goa before, and my ideal Indian dream, living the Indian dream, was on the beach every evening, strolling around, living somewhere not too far away, walking distance ideally. And yet I ended up in Madhya Pradesh, which is completely landlocked and no access to any water whatsoever other than the swimming pools. However, I think just life throws.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Desi Return. Today I'm really excited to have Agnes on our show. So Agnes was born in Poland. She spent 19 years there before relocating to UK and spent another 19 years there before deciding to move to India as a family. A lot of information to look forward to, the reasons why they moved to India, how their life has been living in India. So with that, welcome to the show, Agnes.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
That's great. So Agnes, if you can start a bit with your background, your life and what's the reason behind moving to India? That would be great.
Okay. How do I sum up 40 years of my life? So maybe I'll begin with my educational background, because a lot of people like to know, what is your background like? What did you do before? So I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I qualified over 5 years ago in England as ACCA, and I worked in quite a few companies before that. And alongside it, I also had a YouTube channel. So I always say I'm CA by profession, YouTuber by passion, because YouTube has always been something that's been on the cards for a while. I just never had the courage, but eventually 4 years ago, I took a plunge and I started posting videos. At this point in time, I have nearly 500 videos posted on YouTube. Wow. And they vary around many, many topics. As I was very new to YouTube, I was making every possible mistake that YouTuber make at the beginning of the journey. But I think it's a progress and process. You got to trust in what's happening to you, and things have gone quite well for me, and I've managed to establish quite a good following base. So by now, YouTube is my main hustle. So from being a side hustle, it turned into main hustle. When we have moved to India, which I'll tell in a minute the reasons why, I have given up my job to actually come here. Okay. And the reason being is because I wanted to have the time to focus on the YouTube channel, to grow it. And I really believe that being married to Indian, because I am married to Indian man from Punjab, will actually help me to resonate with Indian audience, and spending time in India here will help me to create content around foreigners' life in India. So this is what I've been doing for the last year. But the reason why we've moved to India, now a little bit going backwards to the story where it all began from, I have 3 children. They are of ages of 7, 10, and 15. But a year ago, they were obviously 1 year younger. So the educational system in the UK, and we were not able to pay for the private education. So the mainstream level of education is very basic. And we just did not believe that my kids or our kids take the most out of, or make the most out of the educational level that I can have. And had we wanted to put them in a private education, it would have costed us fortune. So both of us could not really afford to put the money together to put in a private education. Having said that, here they are privately educated, because the schools here, despite being private and like they go to one of the best schools in Madhya Pradesh, the fees are still the annual fee for the whole 3 children is still less than what it would have been back in England. Yeah. So it just made sense for us to do that way. So one reason was the education, that we wanted to move. Second reason was that I was working full time, managing the house, doing all the chores. There is no help in England, or there is, but it costs a lot of money. So if you do have it, it's maybe once a week, for a couple of hours, someone comes and just cleans the house in the bathroom or whatever. So then I had to cook, clean, do the shopping, go to the gym, do all my socializing, all within the very short week where we all have just 24 hours and we have to sleep 8 of it. So, it was just really, really tiring. And for very many years, we've been doing that. My husband been running business as well. So it's just been really hectic and sort of, rush and a lot on our shoulders, rat race, the typical UK life. So kids are still young, they're still at that age where they want to travel with us, they want to spend time with us. We thought now is probably going to be the best time if we do want to move a country to do it now, not later when the kids are my daughter's age, because for example, for her, it's already very, very challenging to adjust to life here because she's left a lot of friendship behind. So having said that, my boys have adapted very well. So I think they are at the better age to have moved. And that was the reason. So one reason was education. Second reason was life-work balance. And the third reason was just to spend more time as a family and relax for a little while.
That's great. So sounds like I think it's the kids' education, the work-life balance, these are the primary, and having some time with the family, right?
Yes.
So for how long have you been thinking about this, and what was the plan or planning that you have done to prepare for this move? I mean, I think we can come back to the kids, especially with someone, your daughter who is in 15 years, that's a big struggle. So we can come back to that. But before jumping on that, like for how long have your family been planning about this move, and any details that you can share about the plan itself?
Mm-hmm. So it's been probably about a half a year or so that we were thinking of moving to India in particular. But it's been about a year since we thought, I think we want to change that lifestyle that we are having. We're working too hard, it's really challenging, and the kids are young. What do we do in order to improve our life quality? And I think COVID has massively impacted the way we thought, because within the COVID time, I was working from home. My husband was at home a lot because of the lack of work. And having the time with the children, being able to just completely be together as a family all the time, has really made us realize that this is something that we love doing. And then jumping back into the hustle and bustle of working and managing everything was something that we were like, oh my God, this is too hectic. We need to do something about it. So yeah, the actual plan was from about a half year beforehand, where we had to think about which schools we're going to put them to. So this was the first thing that we actually looked into, which schools we're going to go to. And also, we were actually going to move to Goa. So okay. Goa was the place we wanted to go because I have been to Goa before, and my ideal Indian dream, living the Indian dream, was on the beach every evening, strolling around, living somewhere not too far away, walking distance ideally. And yet I ended up in Madhya Pradesh, which is completely landlocked and no access to any water whatsoever other than the swimming pools. However, I think just life throws things at you, and you have to, when life throws you lemonades, you got to make lemons, you got to make lemonades out of it. Yes. So we just happened to meet a person who lives in Indore, a friend of a friend who happened to be at the same party as we were. And he just encouraged us to say, I live in Indore. Indore is a great city. It's the cleanest city of India. It's got great schools. I can help you settle down because you haven't got anyone that can help you anyway. We can kind of help you to get your foot on the ground kind of thing. So before we came, obviously, we did do a little bit of research about India, or about Indore itself. And we thought, okay, why not? We can give it a go and see how it goes. So this is the reason why we actually in Indore, not in Goa.
Yeah.
And so from the time that we knew already that we're going to be in Indore and sort of roughly what the schools are here, we applied for the schools online. And I think because our children are from England, it was easier for us to get into the school. And we've done all the application process. So that was sort of set well beforehand. We came to India, but nothing else was organized. So initially when we came, we stayed up with our friend, and for a while until we've managed to find ourselves accommodation. Once we had the accommodation in place, this is when we moved there. So yeah, from the time that we knew, it was about 6 months for us to execute. So then we also have to put our house on rent. We also had to close up. I had to quit my job and tell my boss that I'm leaving. A lot of things were not easy. Also, the hardest thing was that we've had 2 dogs, which we had to rehome. So we had to find them really good homes that we knew that they'll be well looked after, just as well as we can look after them. But for kids, this was heartbreaking, a goodbye. So yeah, it took about good 3 months from the time that we started actioning. So 6 months from the time we started planning, then about 3 months of execution. And up until the time that we were leaving the country, it was still kind of tidying up the house because we knew there would be tenants moving in literally the next week. So we had to hand over the keys. So it is very challenging actually to move a country. It's challenging to move a house, never mind the country. With 3 kids.
Especially, yeah, that's the key thing. And yeah. So no, thanks for sharing that. How was the life in Indore? So it's been about a year, and initial struggles, maybe life, how you were able to adjust it to that. What was your expectation before the move and the reality? Anything that you can share on that?
So it's been a roller coaster of emotions, really. First of all, living in the UK, the life there and the standards there are completely different to what you have in here in Indore. This is still, I think it's tier 2 city or tier 3 even. So it's a small city, yet it has a lot of people. It's not as well developed as it is London, which is where we lived before. The availability of the ingredients is also not the same as what we have in England, because people don't eat certain things that they eat in England. Sure. So yeah, these were the kind of the struggles to begin with, that adjusting to the weather. Is very, very hot in here, although this was something we were looking forward to come to the hot climate. But living in Indore is still not too bad. There are cities in India which are much hotter than that, but it still gets up to 40 degrees. Like today, it's like 38 degrees or something. So yeah, the weather, the food as well. Indore's food is very, very spicy. So I still cook a lot of meals myself, and I prepare the food for the children, because otherwise they just can't handle the heat. At school, they do eat food provided by the school, but they do make sure that it's not as hot as adults might would have cooked. So yeah, that was first. Second thing was like to find the accommodation. We have moved twice already, our flats, and the one that we are currently in is sort of the one that we think we will stay for a while, or at least until we're here, because there were just oddities that didn't work for us very well. Also, what we struggled with was maybe just like, everyday things, shopping. Like there is applications here where you can just put things in a basket and it gets delivered like in 15 minutes, literally, from the time that you place an order. So this is very convenient, but you don't have the ingredients that you may want to have, in the shop, or that you may want to expect to have it in England. So as to the expectations, I didn't actually have any expectations other than relaxing for a year. So this is what I'm doing. I'm still doing my YouTube channel, and I'm going to the gym. I have my routine. I've met a few friends. So this was my kind of thing that I wanted to do. I did expect to have a lot of time where we spend with the children, we travel around. So these were our expectations, which have been met. Great. Maybe things that we were surprised is with a maybe mentality of people. Like people think differently here, and we have to kind of adapt to things like people getting late to appointments, or say someone says they're going to come and fix the bike next day and they don't turn up, and they don't even call you that they don't come. And if you call them, they may answer in the afternoon to say that, I just couldn't make it, and that's the excuse. So the seriousness or the laid back lifestyle here is something that we're not used to, because people in England are very rigid with time. If you say you're going to be there at 2 o'clock, you better turn up at 2 o'clock, because people will otherwise not make those arrangements with you again, or they will just find somebody else to do the job for you, So yeah, these was the initial things, but now things are much easier. We have sorted a few documents that we needed to sort. Kids are in their routine. They've only just started holidays yesterday, actually. Okay. So in a couple of weeks, when my daughter finishes school, because she's in the seniors, obviously she's much older, she will be finishing in 2 weeks time as well. Then we're going to pack up our bags and just travel probably somewhere around up north, because it's much cooler there.
Cool. No, thanks for sharing that. Maybe kind of switching the gears a little bit. I think this is something that you have touched earlier about kids adjustment, right? Especially your daughter. So I think this is something that's on the top of the mind for a lot of people, especially your daughter who was born in UK, I'm assuming, and then, who grew up and spent, 15 years there. Especially it might have been a little bit of a struggle, just adjusting and so on. So anything that you can share, how it has been, any insights or tips that you can give to any family who might have a similar situation, on the things that worked out better, or anything that you can share on that end?
Yeah, sure. So yes, as you've mentioned, it is especially challenging for my daughter because she was 14 when we moved, and it probably would have been different to different types of people. Like, you know, you go introverts, extroverts, and you know, you have people from different beliefs and values and everything. So not everyone would be, and also people are going to different cities. So if you have the exact same child that is exact same introvert that my daughter is, and you come from London to Indore, I can give you some tips, but obviously it may not apply to every single parent and every single child. So Anjali has massively struggled, and the first thing that she struggled with the most is making friends. And I think the main reason for it is the language barrier. Now Anjali speaks English and she speaks fluently Polish, she speaks French, and she learns probably about 7 other languages on Duolingo, and she does very well. She's sort of one of those people that just easily absorbs languages. So, you know, Hindi is not one of the languages that she speaks, and although she's learning it on Duolingo, it's not something that she can do overnight, and especially the lingo that people use, you know, on a daily basis. This gets developed after being in the country for a little longer than just a year. So I think the main thing that she struggles with is the language barrier. And despite children being able to speak English, they choose to switch the conversation to Hindi eventually, or they throw some Hindi jokes. So I think she struggles to integrate with them because of that reason. And the friend factor is a very, very huge factor for teenagers. Like, they need a connection with the like-minded children, with the children of the same age group. And if they haven't got that, this is a really big enough reason for them not to want to be in an environment. So as much as I'm not saying she's hating here, but she asks every other day or every other week, when are we going back to England? Like, how soon are we going to go? And yes, we have had that plan to come here for a year or maybe 2 and then return back to England. We don't know yet whether that's going to, you know, materialize, because it will all depend on the status of our stay here. So if my husband manages, because he's got some investing portfolio, but if he manages to find a business, like stable business that he can carry on doing and is successful within the next year, then I don't know what we're gonna do, because as much as she really wants to go back to Poland, to England, I don't know whether we will, having said that we already got something established here. So I don't know, time will show. I don't want to say that we will definitely go back next year, but this is something that is in the cards and something that my daughter is looking forward to. So for her, I can't really advise how to make the situation better, because we are in a pickle right now, like where she is not necessarily wanting to live here for a long time. You know, for me, my life has improved. For my husband, it has improved. My boys have found themselves comfortable. They've established routine. They're happy, and they even say they don't want to go back to England. But if that one family member doesn't adjust and can't adapt, then what do you do? Yeah, you know, it's something that probably at the moment is our biggest struggle, if I'm to be honest, completely.
No, thanks for being honest and sharing. I mean, I know a lot of families who have like a teenager kids. That's one of the biggest concerns. No, thanks for sharing that. So I think if you're okay, like, you know, what curriculum does your kids go to? Like, is it IB or CBSE? Just curious on that.
So my daughter is doing CI, so Cambridge standards, because obviously she's at the age where she in England would have been sitting her GCSEs, and here you call them boarding exams. So she will be doing those next year. I think end of this current school year, and my boys are doing just a regular CBSE.
Okay, great. I think education is one of the main reasons you mentioned, right? So that's why I just want to confirm in terms of you realized or you feel that the education is better after the 1 year.
Yes. So yes, sorry, I might not have understood entirely your question. So yeah, we do feel that, you know, they are in the best private schools here around Indore, and I don't want to mention the name just because of the safety of my children.
For sure.
Yeah. They're also learning sports, so they have extracurricular activities at school, Arjun is doing swimming and Jay plays football, although Arjun did play football as well, but now he's gone through the stage where he's no longer meeting the age requirements, so he's grown out of the baby league. But Jay is doing football and he's doing phenomenal. And also they do have guitar and piano lessons. Jay plays piano, the youngest one, and Arjun plays guitar, and they're doing phenomenally well. They really are loving it. And the teacher comes here 3-4 times in a week and he gives them private lessons. Now, this is something that being able to do that in England, we would have easily paid £20 per lesson. Here is cost of £3 to £4 per lesson. So you can see the comparison of costs. Like I could not afford to give them as many lessons in England of music to what I can do it here.
Yeah, sure. So is there anything that you miss, from UK or Poland living here in India?
Family, friends, that's probably one to mention. My dogs. I don't really miss the lifestyle that I used to have, but I do like, it's like every country would have, what is good in one country wouldn't be good in the other and the other way around, right? So I can't really say that I'm much more happier here to what I was there, because there were other perks there that I don't get here, but the quality of life has definitely improved. So as of now, I would say my life is better here than to what it used to be in the UK. In the UK, here, the main thing that I really love is that amount of time that I get, that I can do what I love doing rather than do a job, which, it was CA job, not terribly badly paid job. It was a good position, with a nice work environment and everything. But having said that, it was a paid job that I had to go to every day, that I had no choice of choosing when I want to work because it had to be done. So here I've got a lot of freedom, and also having a maid who does cooking, maid that does cleaning, and like all the house chores is a massive thing that just took a lot of responsibilities off my shoulders.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything that we haven't covered, or any advice that you wanted to share with families who are thinking about moving back to India?
I don't know. It really does depend on personal circumstances. Do you have work lined up, or if you don't, do you have substantial amounts of savings to be sitting without work for a while? Do you have your documents, PAN card, Aadhaar card? This is something you're going to need here. Do you have plans of which city you're going to, why you're going to this particular cities, and if you have children, what schools do you want to put your children into? So yeah, some planning definitely has to be made ahead of time. Probably, sorry, I'm gonna have to hold my phone because my gimbal just died. So some planning will have to definitely be done up front, some research. But I don't know. I felt like it's gonna be what's gonna be, and if we are set to go, things have worked out for us to go, which means the universe wanted us to come here.
Yeah.
And things have just worked out quite well. So other than the situation that we have with our daughter, everything else is fine.
Yep, that's great. No, yeah, thank you very much, Agnes, for sharing your journey and I know the reasons behind it and the life in India so far, and for some of the honest conversation with your daughter. So really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story with us today.
No problem, anytime. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you all for joining us on this insightful journey of Desi Return. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more stories and expert advice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences. By the way, check out the links in the description below for our Facebook group and social media for updates and engaging discussions, as well as connecting with fellow Desi Returners. Thank you once again, and until next time, may your Desi Return journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless possibilities.